folks, welcome into the Seven Rivers Racing Show. I'm Dan Dyker along with Al Losi, coming off another exciting weekend of racing throughout western Wisconsin, well, except for Mississippi Thunder. They got rained out again, and that was supposed to be a La Crosse County night. But we're going to check with Bob Tim to see if we're going to reschedule the free La Crosse County night or not. A lot of racing going on throughout the weekend, and the big one was down at Hawkeye Down Speedway. I've never been to the Speedway.
Oh, we're going to have to get you down there.
Some drivers were telling me at the racetrack this past weekend that went to the Friday, Saturday races on it's like a 38-degree high bank.
Oh, it is a lot of fun to watch. It's like a smaller version of Bristol almost. It is just really, really fun to watch the racing there.
Now, that's what they were getting it on last weekend, and we're going to start things off on our recap segment with the ASA Midwest Tour last weekend. If you remember last year, Jonathan Eileen hit the wall and had about 6 or 7 months of rehabilitation afterwards. He went back to the track that bit him and bit back as he took the 100-lap Hawkeye Down Speedway race this past weekend. And that was his first event of 2011, his first win of 2011. So kind of reminiscent to a NASCAR driver that just broke his foot a couple weeks ago on a Wednesday, came back and won last weekend.
Yeah, that Hawkeye Downs is really a good racetrack for that because it's so smooth. If you have a little injury, you can probably live with it, but it is just a fast track.
Well, the current point leader after that race, Andrew Morrissey, now a 47-point lead over Ross Kenseth. Skylar Holzhausen out of Bangor that raced about a handful of races earlier this year at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. Currently leads Joel Thiessen for Rookie of the Year. He's got a 144-point lead with 3 events remaining. So I think it's pretty much safe to say that Skylar's going to get the Rookie of the Year with the ASA Tour. More importantly, you know, Oktoberfest races are right around the corner here, and not only those drivers, but some of the other classes with the ASA are gearing up. They only have a couple of races left, and we're going to see them at Oktoberfest. ASA Midwest Sportsman Tour and the ASA Midwest Truck Tour also at Hawkeye Downs last weekend. Chris Merrick took home his 2nd consecutive Hawkeye Downs Speedway victory. 1 event left for the Sportsman Championship there at the National Short Track Championship at Rockford October 1st. I've never been there yet, but I'd like to be down to Rockford for one of those events.
I'll go down there with you. I haven't been there either, and I would love to see the facility and watch the races down there.
We just had Greg McCarnes on my race report on AM 580 WKTY a couple of weekends ago, and they're gearing up for that. Also, the ASA Midwest Truck Tour, 40-lap feature event done in Hawkeye Downs. Jerry Wood, part of the infamous Wood Brothers racing team coming out of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, ended up winning that race. Their next race, October 20th at Marshfield. The race after that, their point championship at Oktoberfest.
And that's just another one of those Oktoberfest finishes. There are so many championships that end up at Oktoberfest.
ASA Midwest Tour wraps up August 21st, Raceway Park in Shakopee, Minnesota. Dells Raceway Park last weekend. I'd like to get out and see that 55-lap Alive for 5 Super Late Model Series. It's been very exciting this year. Frank Cryer, who won, I think, the 1st or 2nd race this year, and we'll ask our guest in a moment to clarify that, ended up winning through 29 Super Lates this past Saturday night, and they will be running their championship night September 10th. So getting down to the Alive for 5 Super Late Model Series of the Dells.
And it's always so fun to watch an event there at the Wisconsin Dells, and Frank Cryer certainly knows his way around.
Oh, yeah. He's got, what does he get, 5 or 6 cars this year? He can work his way around, too. Looking at the Sportsman competitive field, the all-time high car count of 19 this past weekend at Dells Raceway Park. Scott Luck got his 4th win of the season. In the Pure Stocks, Mark Hole picked up his 3rd win in 2011, and a season-high 31 Bandits were on hand Saturday night. One night after sweeping action at MIS, Gary Stark Jr. broke out the broom at Dells Raceway Park and won that event as well. Next up for DRP, the Mid-American Stock Car Series is back. Also, you know, we talked about that contest that Decker Racing is going to be having where one lucky fan gets to go with Boring Bob's Tours to a MAC CS race with Paige Decker and Decker Racing. You're going to be able to sign up one more time here this Saturday night at Dells Raceway Park. Pure Stocks have the night off. Legend Cars will be back, part of the program. Late Models will also be back for their final 4-run week at the championship. So DellsRacewayPark.com for more information there. La Crosse Speedway saw exciting sportsman races. Again, 6th time this year that a race was called coming out of turn 4. You guys pit right down there, so you've got a front row seat to watch this action that's been happening out of turn 4.
Oh, and it's amazing. As I mentioned last week, the cameras here really don't show how close the action is down there. When they're in the corners, you can sometimes hear the tires not just squealing on the track, you can hear them touching fenders as they're coming around turns 3 and 4.
Well, first off, we're going to give you the finish of the lacrosse late models. And again, Steve Carlson, 5 restarts he had to go through and a couple of bad crashes. I hope Matt Henderson, Mike Carlson, Jeff Baker, hope they can get those things. A lot of broken stubs this past weekend. Carlson doing his infamous, I want to start on the pole on the outside on the restarts. This is what happens. Carlson cruising to the win, his 3rd on the season. And I gave him the nickname of Mr. Consistent 2 seasons ago, Todd Korish, and he's showing again why he gets a 2nd place finish. And not more importantly, J. Herb's point lead is only 18.
It's tightening up. It's going to get really close. The thing about Steve Carlson is, and I'd like to go back over the last couple of years too, I wonder how many times he's been passed during the course of a race.
I don't know. That would be a good question.
And Todd Korish, in his interview with you after the race, he mentioned that he knew that his car was as good as Steve's, but he wasn't going to try to pass him. He was going to wait for a mistake because he knew that the points were more important.
But he said if he could have passed Carlson, Carlson would not have been able to catch him. That's what he's true. In our post-race interview. The top 10 of the feature, the Tracy Phillips Lee feature, it was, of course, taking 2nd, Brent Kirchner 3rd, Brad Powell 4th, Tony Bangstad rounded out the top 5 after coming back 3 weeks in a row with having a shimming problem in his car. J. Herb 6th, Jeremy Wagner 7th, Nick Clemens 8th, Michael Sauter another top 10 finish. 10th went to Jess Tanner. Sean Paff, I think his points chase may have came crumbling down with 11th place finish this past week. And also want to mention Kevin Noodleman was back at the track, most winningest late model driver. Couldn't get win number 107, but he did finish 12th out of a 24-car field. When we return from the break, we're going to hit the Sportsman, Thunderstock Outlaws. Our guest on the program today is from Dells Raceway Park out of Sparta, Wisconsin. Drives the 29P. Davey Pennell is going to be on the program here when we return. 7 Rivers Racing here on KQEG TV.